everyone, and welcome to the Owl Pod, the official podcast of Temple Athletics. I'm your host, Kevin Copp, and my guest today is Temple Gymnastics head coach and my longtime friend, Hilary Steele. Hilary and I go back to our time together as students at the University of Georgia, where she was a two-time national champion in 2008 and 2009 as a member of the Georgia Gym Dogs, an SEC individual vault champion in 2011, and a multiple-time All-American. Now, I was none of those things, but I did cover the Georgia Gymnastics team as the play-by-play broadcaster for their meets on GeorgiaDogs.com, so I got to know Hilary as a student-athlete. But before her time at UGA, she was an elite gymnast at the Cincinnati Gymnastics Academy and represented the United States as a member of Team USA in several national and international competitions. She is currently in her third season as head coach of the Temple Owls. Here is Hilary Steele after this quick word from our OwlPod sponsors.
And we're back with the action. Coke Zero Sugar might be the best Coke ever.
That's right, Jim. With an irresistible taste and zero sugar, Coke Zero Sugar is a must-try for any sports fan. So make sure you... Wait, Jim, I didn't mean try it right now. We're still on the air.
Best Coke ever? Take a taste, Jen.
Really?
No, not right now, Jen. We got a game to call.
This is a funny one because you and I have known each other we're closing in on 20 years, I think, probably 18 or so years that you and I have known each other, which is wild, half our lives. So you're not often in the position of like Googling your friends, but I'm trying to do some research and stumbled across some things that I wasn't sure of, so we can fill in some of the gaps here. I guess best to start in childhood. I didn't realize until I was reading I guess this is your USA Gymnastics bio, that your mom is a gymnastics instructor. Was that your path into the sport, basically?
Yes, kind of. Ironically, my mom tried to keep me out.
Okay.
In doing so,
like actors that don't want their kids to become child actors, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my brother and sister, she put both of them in gymnastics. She did not put me in a class. She was like, nah, we're not going to put her in. But she made the mistake of bringing me while she would coach. So basically, I started just doing it on my own. It's funny, I watch Grayson, and I'm like, I didn't see myself when I was little, but I envision it being the same. Like, I was obsessed with the team and watching them and trying to do what they did. And so I just started copying them, and then she felt like she had to put me in. And she never coached me. She makes sure everyone knows that. She's like, she was not in gymnastics because I coached her, that kind of thing. Never coached me. Just I ended up in my own path in gymnastics. But yeah, my mom was a coach for, I think, 46 years or something.
That's probably a healthy amount of distance, though, for both of you, right? Like, the coach-parent relationship or the athlete-parent / coach, when it gets murky, I mean, that can be tough. It's probably helped preserve some of your relationship that you didn't have to deal with the coaching aspect of it.
For sure. And honestly, I feel like my mom as a coach was more disconnected, like in a good way, where like she didn't ever try to get like involved, and kind of kept her distance with her passion for gymnastics and like just enjoying my passion and watching me as an athlete.
But I'm sure as someone as she is, she knows the sport and she knows what's good gymnastics versus, just good kid gymnastics or whatever. So, I mean, I imagine it had to be pretty evident early on that you were on a different kind of playing field. I think gymnastics is one of those sports that reveals itself fairly young. So, like, at what point did it become like, oh, this is a little more than just like she's a little toddler that likes running around on the floor and like there's some real talent and possibility here?
Yeah, I don't know exactly like for her when that was, but I do remember I was very good at soccer too. And I think it was around like 7. They asked me to be on like the traveling soccer team. And I think that was when we really like had to decide, okay, am I committing to gymnastics, soccer, or trying to do both? And I feel like that was kind of like the turning point of like, okay, we're going to commit to gymnastics. We're going to do this thing. And we spent a lot of time in the gym.
Well, it is one of those, like, how how was you? I mean, obviously you can't know because you don't know what things would have looked like if you played soccer. But I think it's easier for folks to wrap their head around like, okay, this is what youth soccer looks like, and you do the travel teams, and you do your club, and eventually you'll do high school. Gymnastics is just because it doesn't exist in that same world. It is kind of its own. It's its own thing. It's its own animal. And so, kind of, what did that look like? I guess this is still you're in Massachusetts at this point. Before you go to Ohio, just as doing it as a kid and ramping up there, kind of how did that look compared to, I'm sure what like friends at school were doing if they're doing soccer or
Yeah.
dance or cheer or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I feel like theirs was more like a normal schedule. Like you go to school, then you go to practice, then you go home, you have dinner, go to bed, do it all over again. Whereas for me, it was like I started leaving school early to train. I didn't start two-a-days while I was in Massachusetts at all. But I would like go in before the team. So, because I was the only one training for like eventually my goal was to do elite. So I would go in before the team and train for a few hours, and then I would have my like normal team practice. But yeah, leaving school early was always a an interesting thing. And then when I did make the national team, like I'll never forget walking through the hallway at school and they put like this giant banner up for me. So it was definitely different than everyone else's experiences. I was traveling all the time. I was gone from school a lot. Had to make a lot of adjustments there. But I think more so, yeah, just in the day-to-day like grind of um leaving school early and going to train and everyone else was still at school, finishing up their day, doing their normal thing, taking the bus. I never did any of that. I also would go to Connecticut once a week when I was in Massachusetts to train with another coach. Just I don't even honestly know the full reason to get a different perspective. And I was trying to um, be a little better at bars because that was not my strength. So my mom would drive me to Connecticut. It was 2 hours once a week, and I'd train there for a little bit and then go home. So yeah, just a different schedule.
Did you was there an aspect I could see this going one of two ways. Like was it fun kind of having this pseudo celebrity status, or sometimes in school all you're trying to do is like fit in and not stand out, and you've got like banner you're leaving early and there's
Yeah.
banners with your face on it or whatever in the hallway. Like was it did you like that part of it, or was it weird for you, or how did that kind of go with just the normal school experience?
Yeah. I don't think I ever really minded it. Yeah, I think it helped because like my teachers knew kind of what I was doing, what I was going through, and were able to help me out with like, making sure assignments were good and like I was getting things in on time and still staying on track with school. I think the only part that was kind of a bummer, it's not really a bummer, but like if you're gonna make sacrifices and looking back and like missing a lot of things and like my friends talking about going to do this and going to a birthday party or going to a school dance and like that kind of stuff, missing out on some of that. I wouldn't say I regret that at all, but I think that's the only area where it's like, oh, sometimes, of course, you're going to be like, oh, it'd be nice to have that normal life and be able to do those things. But then you look back and it's like, okay, it was all worth it and it got me to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean that is a good perspective. It's sometimes hard to have that perspective when you're in the moment, though. Like
Right.
sometimes all you want to do, as anyone, is just be go to a party, do the fun
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. So at what point does Cincinnati come into the picture? Obviously, you're already, I guess kind of beyond the bounds of what is available to you in Massachusetts. You're already having to go into Connecticut, and so at what point, that's a big decision as well, obviously, to move to Ohio and continue your training there at a higher level. So, what kind of calculus went into that decision, I guess, for you or for your parents?
Mhm. I had been asking my parents a lot. So it came a lot from me. I just felt like it was hard training by myself, trying to do elite. There was nobody in the area really at the time. Like Alicia Sacramone was a little bit later than me, or earlier. I don't remember. Um, she's older than me, I think. But
Now,
I still think she was later.
yes,
Anyway,
yes, I think both of those are true.
regardless.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so just training alone, it's hard enough training, 36 hours a week, never mind doing part of it alone and trying to progress and not having anybody kind of doing the same thing as you. So I had asked many times and um that's not just an easy decision to just like up and split your family and move. So I'll never forget. I went to, I think it was classics. I did decently well, and Marta pulled me over at one point and was like, I think you need to go train somewhere else. And I think that was like the turning point for me, where I was like, Mom, I gotta do this. If I'm gonna put so much effort into this, I need to be able to train with somebody who's, you know, trained these Olympians and has been there before. And more importantly, though, have teammates trying to do the same thing and push along those lines with me. So um, I, that happened pretty quick after that.
And what
Um,
age is that?
I was 14, I think. Yeah. I was in Ohio from 14 to 17. I might have been 13 and like turning 14. And I went down for the summer by myself. And we still joke about it to this day. I went down the whole summer. I did pretty well. I would get homesick on like Sundays when there was no practice, but I was also 14 years old living with a host family. And Mary Lee called my mom at the end of like I don't remember, it was like a trial I was going for. I don't know how many weeks, and was like, I ordered her Leo, like she's part of our team, basically just like adopted me as part of our team. And I loved it there, so I was all in. My mom ended up coming the end of the summer. So my dad, my brother, my sister stayed in
I was going to
Massachusetts.
say, what does this look? Where are you? Remind me in the pecking order of siblings here.
So I'm the baby, and it worked out because my sister is 8.5 years older than me, and my brother's almost 6 years older than me. So like my sister was off in college. My brother, actually, they were both in college, I think. So made it a little easier than like if we were, right around the same age and splitting our family up then.
Sure.
So that was helpful. And my sister has always been like, she's like my number one gymnastics fan. She loves watching all my gymnastics meets and has always been that way and still is. She comes to every home meet and, well, almost every away meet too, even coaching. So um, I think that helped having that age gap. They understood and they were so supportive, and um, we just would travel back and forth. Mostly they would come there, and I wouldn't go home as much because when you're training elite, there's not a lot of off time.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you and I probably know the shorthand, and I think where most people are going to understand is elite equals Olympics, right? Like that is the level that you're seeing is different by and large than what you're seeing in NCAA gymnastics. There's another, I don't even know, there's another level out there, so to speak.
right.
So I mean, can you give some sense just for the layperson of what this is? I mean, this is the highest of the high level within the sport, and I imagine the training when you're talking about, again, making U.S. national teams and Olympics and things like that. I mean, the training to go along with that is as intense as anything that exists in the sport as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need to have that mindset of like, if you don't want to do it and you don't want to have all the sacrifices and challenges that go along with it, it's not going to work out. I was training twice a day, so I would train 7 to 10:30 in the morning, and then I would go to school from, I don't know, 11:30, 12 to 2:30. So I did go to a normal school. They were very accommodating. And then I would go back to the gym from 3 to 6 at night. And then it was like, do your homework, eat your dinner, go to bed, do it all over again. Um, and then Wednesdays we had one practice, which was like, felt like I had a whole day of activities available, but it's just a lot of time and a lot of numbers and a lot of effort and a lot of travel, and like I said, if you're not 100% in, it's hard to do that. And I think I knew at the time that that's where I wanted to be. I knew what my goals were. My goals were never like particularly like, I was very realistic with myself. It was never like I want to make the Olympics. It was like I want to compete for Team USA in these different scenarios and situations. And um, yeah, so making that sacrifice was huge, but I don't ever like look back and regret it because that's what I wanted.
I think one of the interesting things that you mentioned is, obviously part of what drew you to going to CGA to Cincinnati is the idea of having others around you that are going to help push you, that are working to achieve that same goal, that's going to help push you, and that's obviously much easier to do than just being by yourself, being the biggest fish in a small pond and trying to make it happen on your own. What was the dynamic like? Because there is team aspect and you're pushing each other and but there's also your competitive there's a finite number of spots on these teams and there's a trying to make everyone better and iron sharpens iron, but there's also a competitive dynamic. Like, how did you find that aspect of it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very different than NCAA where it's a team sport. It's very individual at that level, especially. But I think that's one thing I loved about Cincinnati when I went is it felt like we were a team. We were always cheering for each other, which is different than a lot of like elite gyms and like trying to make it a fun environment for ourselves. And like our goals were always to like, we would love if we could go to these competitions together, if we were selected together. Um, Obviously, like you said, naturally you want to succeed and be able to go to all these competitions and there is a little bit of individualism in it, but I think overall, like I never look back and I'm like, never felt like a battle between us. It felt very like we're a family, we're in this together. This is hard. Like it's so much easier when we have teammates and family doing it together. And now like even better, like we look back and we make jokes about things and things we went through together and just we have those memories to share and um, those hard times and the good times. And yeah, I think it ultimately was good and not a challenge for us.
Well, as you said, obviously going in with the stated goal of competing for Team USA, representing the U.S. on a national and international stage, and I mean, you got to do that. You got to compete in the 2006 U.S. Classic and the World Cup, and you go to Ireland in 2007. So, in this, is there a kind of a high watermark of it's hard, and again, for folks that don't know this world, there is a whole cycle in between the 4 years that a lot of people, unless you're really in the sport, don't get to see. So, what was the kind of point at which, you found out like, hey, you're getting this opportunity. You are going to be with the U.S. senior national team. You are representing Team USA. That kind of the culmination of that goal and that dream came to be. What was that moment?
I think it's honestly like the first time you put on that Team USA Leo and like they announce you as representing Team USA. I think that's like in that moment, it's like it's not like you're done, but it's like okay, I've made it here. Now it's like, what more can I do to continue to represent USA? And um, yeah, I feel like it's like that first moment where it's all like, okay, this has come together. Like all that I've gone through to get here is has been worth it.
Now, as this is all unfolding, you're kind of hitting your high water mark in this '06, '07 cycle. Clearly, the Olympics are in '08 in Beijing, and also what would be and what ends up being the start of your collegiate career as well. What was there ever, and this was, I think it's become a little bit more common for folks to be able to dip a toe in both.
Yeah,
It just didn't exist at that time, right? Like
not at all.
it was not done. It couldn't be
Yep.
done.
Yep.
So it was one or the other. This was
Yep.
your, dividing line. You weren't doing both. It wasn't even in the realm of possibility. So how did you evaluate that decision? And obviously, what led you to continuing the path that you did in college?
Yeah. I always say it was one of the hardest decisions of my life, but having to defer that year and knowing like that Olympics, they were looking for a bar worker, which was my weakest event. So I met with like sports psych many, many times to make the decision of what was best for me and what I wanted. I knew I wanted to do college gymnastics. And like you said, that wasn't even a thing. Like it wasn't an option. You couldn't do both. Um, so I think now it's really, really cool that the girls have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, I met over and over with our sports psych, just trying to figure out what the best decision for me was. I did pros and cons over and over and over again. But ultimately, I wanted like my goals and dreams had shifted to being an NCAA gymnast. And um, yeah, I think having to defer that year in my head was going to be a really challenge, knowing that I wanted to do college gymnastics and knowing that it wasn't a I wasn't definitely going to go to the Olympics, especially with bars being a weaker event and knowing that that's what they were looking for. I don't even remember looking back like how I knew that a year in advance, but maybe it was my coach telling me that. Unsure. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are definitely times where I'm like, I never regret the decision because my college experience was incredible, the best 4 years of my life. Like So cliche, but so true. I had an amazing college experience, but of course, you always look back and you wonder, like, because it was all the girls that I was training with that were at that Olympics. So it's like, oh, wonder if I would have been there, but also not regretting the decision I made.
Well, it helps that, you go to college and meet me, obviously. No, it helps that you go to college and you have as good a college resume and college career as one can have. Two national championships in '08 and '09 at Georgia, which was the last two of five consecutive national championships. Individual SEC vault title, multiple, many-time All-American. I mean, I think you did everything that you can conceivably do in the sport. And, what was the recruiting process like? Obviously, you come out of the elite world at, one of the preeminent clubs and have the experience that you have. I imagine you can pretty much write your ticket anywhere you want to go. How does Georgia become the one for you?
Yeah, what's funny is looking back, I laugh because I did not think I was good enough to go to Georgia. Now looking back, I'm like,
You're like, no, I definitely was.
like I was on the national team. I don't, not sure.
It's good
All
to
I
know that
wanted,
the imposter syndrome, can affect
yeah,
everyone, even when it's comical.
yeah, yep. And all I wanted was to go to college and compete, not just one event. Like I wanted to compete 3 or 4 events. And so Mary Lee was like, why don't you just go see it? And I was kind of like, I don't think I'm going to compete there. They had just won.
I guess
Um,
what at this point, yeah, like you're
at
in
that,
the '07 recruiting cycle, so maybe they won in '05 and '06 at that point,
yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So in my head, I'm like, that's the best of the best. I'm not quite there. Um, so I forget what I really think it was Mary Lee just saying like, hey, like just go check it out and see if it's something you like. And I fell in love with the team, and the coaches, of course. But I think for me, it was like I just again, very cliche. I felt at home when I went there. Um, we did nothing that was like it. We did nothing that it was like they were trying to prove something to me. It just felt very like natural and like we went to I'll never forget, we went to Walmart at midnight and I thought as like an elite level gymnast, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I can do whatever I want. And it was just like, and we like baked cookies and like, so just normal life fun. It wasn't like they tried to force anything. Like they didn't try to do anything to make me like want to go there. It just felt right. Yeah. And I loved the team and it felt that team dynamic felt right to me. And yeah, I still laugh about it this day, thinking that I was not going to be able to compete there. Um, yeah, so I guess yeah, it was Mary Lee convincing me to just go check it out and just see what you think of it. And I know my decision was between Georgia and Florida, and I just felt more connected to the team at Georgia.
Well, I mean, obviously the history speaks for itself, and it ends up being a great thing. And like any good Georgia grad, can't imagine you ending up at Florida. That's just one shudders to think of what life might have been like had you gone to
Right?
Gainesville. But all kidding aside, I mean, it is as good a collegiate experience as you can have. There's only, I mean, at that point in the history of the sport, there had only been four different schools that had won a national title, Georgia being one of them, and being the two-time, before you got there, now three-time defending national champions. There's only a certain number of places that can put 10,000 people in the seats to watch college gymnastics. I mean, that's not, happening anywhere outside of, at that time, Georgia and Utah, probably the only two places in the entire country, that have that kind of rabid fan file. I mean, for people that don't understand, like, it is the second biggest sport at Georgia behind football and well clear of anything else. Basketball, baseball, you name it, gymnastics is, it's right there. It's really impossible to overstate unless you've seen it. And we'll come back to that because obviously you got to share, that experience with the Temple team this season. But Suzanne Yocklin is the coach at this time. She is the coach through your sophomore year, and again wins the last 5 of those. She had won 10 NCAA titles, the most all time. What was that experience like? And were you at that time ever thinking about that college coaching would be somewhere down the line in your future, and kind of looking at the way that she did things, and kind of, at least filing that away for what might be coming down the road for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I thought I was going to do event planning. That is what I did for about 6 months after college and quickly realized that wasn't for me. So I don't know if at the time I was ever like uh thinking like taking in what
You at
she
least
was
weren't
saying.
doing it consciously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consciously in that way. But having her as a coach, she just was so knowledgeable and like seeing what she had built with the program was really cool and like hearing stories about how, you know, she had very little fans and built up that fan experience and how that was so important to her. And but for me, hers was more like less about the coaching and more about the way her like philosophies and the way she did things. Um, and I use so much of that, the things that I know worked with our team. And it's funny, she came and spoke to the team before the Georgia meet, and the girls were like, "Oh, no, we know where you get a lot of the stuff you do," because a lot of the things she was saying were just like connected to things that I do with the girls. And like I said, I know I feel like I have a good gauge on like what did work and what things I was like, I don't know that that's going to work with this group or that kind of thing. So at the time, not consciously like thinking about it, but definitely look back and use a lot of the things that worked for us.
Well, it's an interesting point you make, and this was I had saved this for later, but I think it's a good time, so I'll jump ahead a little bit because this is something that's come up with a lot of coaches that are in your particular situation. I'm thinking of like Michelle Vitisse, someone who played for Team USA and then gets into coaching, and it can be a hard thing when you are as exceptional as you were as an athlete and you have a level of coaching that I don't want to say doesn't work with today's student athletes, but it's you were coached differently, right? Like it's a different world then than what it is now, and I do think it can sometimes be challenging for the folks that are the most successful in their sport and have achieved at the highest level. And I mean no disrespect to any of the gymnasts that are on your team, but it's not like you have folks that are coming in with an elite background that are, Team USA and Olympic level caliber gymnasts. It's a different mindset, it's a different mentality, it's a different way that you have to articulate things. And I'm just wondering, like, as you have gone on in your coaching career, how you've been able to thread that needle, because clearly the way that you were coached it is not going to apply apples to apples to the way that you need to be a
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. I think it's a forever learning process,
Yeah.
honestly. Like every day I'm still learning what works best for these girls and this level of gymnastics, and kind of knowing again, like knowing the things that worked for me as an athlete and the things that, I felt were a little harder and challenging and maybe didn't work well for me. Um, but it's definitely a challenge and a process to learn and continuously learn. Like I feel like every year it will be something different and every year you're going to learn something different. But it's also like every year your team is different.
Yeah.
So even though you might have some of the same people, it's a different dynamic, it's a different team. It's what worked for you last year might not work for you this year. Um, Not sure if that really answered your question.
No, I think it definitely did. And I mean, I think just more broadly, obviously you had some life experience. You come out of school, you work, you did some work at club, you were in Hawaii, you end up coming back and getting involved in college coaching. Was there ever any, I guess, what was that process like for you of just deciding, that you were going to give this specific level of gymnastics, which is kind of its own thing, coaching
Yeah.
at the NCAA level, to kind of give this a shot and make this a profession.
Yeah. I knew when I was in Hawaii, that's what I wanted to do. And I knew it was going to be challenging because I had stepped away from it for a while. But we had just gotten married and, I followed him for a little bit. And then now we joke that he follows me now. Here we are. So he took me to Hawaii. I took him to Philly.
Yeah, it's hard to say who got the better end of that deal.
Yeah. Um, but I knew in Hawaii that was the ultimate goal. And actually, I think I knew before, maybe even before Hawaii. It was pretty clear to me after I stepped into another role and did some event planning and realized like this is not I don't have the passion I have for gymnastics. I feel like a lot of people try to step away from the sport, when you were so involved in it, and it was like really 100% of your life was revolved around gymnastics. So trying to step away from it and find something else you're passionate about. But I think I realized that like it is not my whole life now. It's just I feel it's a different level of passion. It's a different kind of passion. And I knew college was the road for me because I wanted to be able to, like I said, take the things that I learned that worked for me, not just in gymnastics, but in like helped me in life, and be able to share those with these girls and help them outside of just gymnastics. I think that's my favorite part of coaching college is like you get to see the reward with the gymnastics, but you see these girls like grow up and mature and like become leaders and hopefully come back to you with life questions later. That's always my goal. And like if you come back to me, I did my job. If I don't hear from you, then something was missing. So I think that's more of what I was looking for, a combination of like the coaching, but also like helping you develop as a human, um, and help you succeed in other things. Because that was a really challenging thing for me too, is when gymnastics ended, I was very lost. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to get there. And I think that's ultimately why I did step away from gymnastics for a little bit, was like, all right, got to figure out who I am, what my identity is, and all that stuff. And I know that's a challenge for student athletes very, very often, and it's something that I try to help as a coach, get them prepared for that like gymnastics does come to an end, and like it's not who you are, it's what you do. I say that to them all the time. It probably drives them crazy. Like, remember, this isn't who you are, it's what you do. um, and and that's always been a big philosophy of mine too, like even coaching here. Not a lot of programs give the weekends off. For me, I've said to the girls, like, I want you to find a talent or a hobby or something else you enjoy doing that is not gymnastics on the weekend. And then obviously, like, you're in school, you got to like use your Sunday to like catch up on schoolwork and do your laundry and do college stuff. But I always encourage them. I'm like, I want you to find something you like doing. I don't care if that's like go shopping with your friends, but don't sit and think about gymnastics all day, every day on the weekend, or it just makes that transition so much harder. Obviously, during season, we are doing that, but at least during preseason and stuff. So I think knowing that was such a challenge for me, I think that's a big part of what I do now.
I'm assuming, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I assume part of that is also you become a mom, and I think
Yeah,
that helps right size everything when
yeah,
you
for sure.
have kids to worry about, and
Yeah,
you think about, I think that coaching and parenting go a lot hand in hand, and I think it's probably something that's not talked about enough. And this is kind of auspicious timing for you and I to be talking, because in a week or so you're going to have your third baby, which is very exciting. But to be
yeah,
managing all of that during the season, and just managing two growing girls, and then
yeah.
your team as well. I'm sure those worlds intersect and probably help you be a better coach and help you be a better parent. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a virtuous cycle between those two things.
Yeah, I always say like I am so much better, so much a much better mom because I have a job that I'm so passionate about, and I can go do something for me and then go home and give everything to my family. Yeah.
Well, I think you can tell the way that you have approached every step of your journey. The way you do everything is all out 100%, and the fact that you have been able to manage both of these things the way that you have, it's exceedingly difficult, and you have done it, super gracefully. And we just wish you all the best moving forward, personally and professionally, and excited to see what the rest of 2026 holds for you.
Yes, thank you. We're
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited for my family. I'm excited for this team. We're such a young team. I think we have a lot to grow into, and I'm excited to see the future.
All right, that's this week's episode of the Owl Pod. I want to thank my guest, Hilary Steele. A reminder, David Litvin and Amelia Wright are back on the Tuesday edition of the Owl Pod with an all-new episode, and I'll be back with you next Friday. If you want to support the Owl Pod, please be sure to subscribe, leave a rating. Most of all, please tell your friends. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts, and of course, follow us on Instagram at The Owl Podcast. Special thanks to our entire Owl Pod team, Christy Bannon, Justin Miller, Prince Moody. Our executive producer is Dan Lobaz. I'm Kevin Copp. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and go Owls.